Hi, I'm Joe Saunders with Miniature Landscape Hobbies. Today we're going to look at how to put water slide transfers on your models. Let's go ahead and apply some transfers to these models. Now, sometimes people call these decals, water slide transfers, decals. Doesn't matter which, they're all the same thing. And in order to do this, you need some tools. So let's go over them. All right, so first things first, you need the transfers themselves. They come on these cards. All right, and then a good pair of tweezers is useful. Not absolutely necessary, but useful. Some brushes. They don't have to be particularly good brushes, but a flat brush really does help. Then you have your decal set solution. This just helps your transfers adhere to the surface of the model. And this is Testra's brand. Any brand will do. Okay, then after that you have some gloss varnish. You can just put that down to form a base layer for the transfer. And here's some decal medium. That's not always necessary, but it is helpful if you have an uneven surface. And then lastly, you have some anti-shine here, varnish. You can use any type of varnish you want really for this. Oh yeah, and you need a little dish of water. And as always, you should have your craft knife close at hand. So let's go ahead and start the process. So I've decided I want some numbers on either side of both of these vehicles. So I decide on the number I want, and I go in, and using my craft knife, I just go in and cut them off the card. And peel them out of the card, and I put them straight in the water. Just make sure they get submerged in there. And do the second one. Same story, into the water to soak. Different transfers take different amounts of time in the water. And while they're soaking in there, I'll get out my gloss varnish and putting it out. I'll just, in this case, on a little spare piece of styrofoam, I'll grab my flat brush. Flat brushes work better for this. And I'll brush the gloss varnish straight onto the model where I want the transfers to go. So I put it on both sides. Make sure it's nice and smooth. And then I set the model aside to dry. Now while the gloss varnish is drying, I can go in and with my tweezers remove the transfers from the water and just set them aside. You don't want to leave them in there too long. And I usually just put them on the work surface while I'm waiting for the gloss varnish to dry. Okay, so the gloss varnish is now dried. I go and get my decal set. And I brush it on over top of the gloss varnish now. Again, just exactly right where I want the transfers to go. I pick up the transfer with my tweezers. And using my paintbrush, I just slide it onto the model itself, over top where I've put the decal set and where I've put the gloss varnish. Sometimes you just need a little extra to help it flow on there. All right, so let's go ahead and put it on the other side. Same story exactly. Sometimes you can use a little extra water to help position it. Same way with the decal set. There you go. And get it smoothed down and on there with your brush. Okay, at this point you can put the model up, and then it needs a little while to dry, so I just move on to the other one. Exactly the same process. And then I put that one up to dry, and you need to leave them to dry for half an hour to an hour. In the meantime, I clean my brushes off and I put that all aside. All right, so let's go back to it. So we're assuming it's had enough time to dry. And you can get out your Decal medium now. Now you'll really only need Decal medium if you're having a problem with curved surfaces or something with a lot of texture, because Decal medium helps literally melt the transfer onto the surface. But let's just apply it anyways. And then again, you put that aside and leave that for some time to dry. I'll do the other model. Okay, and there they sit, getting ready to dry. Clean up my brushes. So now the time has gone by. Get the models back. So all the Decal medium, everything is dried, and we need to do a little more to protect the Decal or transfer on the surface of the model. So I go and get out my matte varnish. Again, you could use a gloss varnish. Doesn't really matter what type of varnish, as long as you varnish over the transfer. All right, so grabbing my brush, I just go and lightly brush it on. You don't need a lot for this. Okay, and then the other model. And we set those aside, and with that, you're finished. Here's some examples of how transfers enhance the look of your models. As you can see, they add an extra degree of realism and really help establish the scale of the model. They also look good on terrain and help the piece tell a story to the viewer. If you have any tips or tricks for using transfers on your models, make sure to include them in the comments below. Also, please make sure that you subscribe to our channel to see upcoming content, and make sure you press that bell button in order to get all of the notifications whenever we launch new videos.